Hi everyone, and welcome back to High Speed Touring. She's finally here. Look at this, isn't it amazing? Just looks fantastic. But before I take it out any further, we want to put some crash protection on it. So yes, again, I'm going to have to dig it out the pile of boxes behind me. Of course, it's the one at the bottom. Okay, let's see what we've got in the box. Must give a shout out to R&G for their support for my channel. They've helped me out with a few pieces. Good discounts on all their products. So thank you very much to R&G for that, much appreciated. I have used their products before and I have tested their products unfortunately, and the last time they did save my bike completely. Went down on some diesel and the crash bunks did all of the damage, not a mark on my bike. So because of that I wanted to go with them again. So I think in here are parts for the RR and the GX 750. Let's see what we've got. Packaging. Aha! So we have, wow, look at these bits. And cotton reels. That should make it easier. If I fit those first, we can put the bike on the paddock stand and get it upright and be easier to fit some of the other parts to it. The Aero bobbins, crash bobbins for the side. These are the ones that take most of the force. They go straight into the either the engine mounting or the frame, and once the bike goes over, they slide on the specialised material and take most of the force from when the bike, if the bike falls over, if you drop it or it gets knocked over, it will save you a lot of money in repairing fairings, etc. Really useful to put those on. Right, these are the engine covers for the Suzuki GX 750. So you've got engine covers left and right for the casings, just in case the worst happens on track. You slide on these instead of your engine casings and save all your liquids from coming out of the bike. So we'll install those later. And finally in the box is the engine case cover set for the S1000RR. Again, invaluable. They'll save your engine casings if you do go down. These will take the hit. Also, these are the racing ones, and I believe they have some sort of sliding puck on them as well, in addition to the actual case. So we'll have a look at that in a minute. So in the box, you have the main set of engine case covers, and quite rightly on the racing set, I don't know if you can see that, we'll have a look later, but there's a little racing puck. If the bike hits the deck, it will slide on that puck before it hits your engine cover, and then you can actually just replace that single little bit. That'll be a lot cheaper than replacing the whole engine casing, which is a lot cheaper than replacing your actual engine casings on the bike. We've got left and right sides and an extra cover there. I think that's for the water pump. And all the fittings. So we'll have a good look at that in a minute. Okay, let's start with the easy things. Let's stick the cotton reels on first, and then we can get it on its paddock stand. So in the box, you open the box, you get 2 cotton reels. Inside each cotton reel is a bolt, which is an Allen key, and also a little washer. And this is what they look like once they've been used. So I don't know if you can see this, but as you can see here, we've got all the marks on the bolt as it was. It's slightly bent. You can see that. I think there was a slight bend in the bolt, but most of it took the brunt of the crash, and you can see it did its job. When you're going to put all these things in, with all the bolts going in, I suggest you don't never put them in dry. They either need some copper grease on the bolts so they can go in and out easily if the ones you're taking in and out. If the ones you want to put in and make sure they don't come out, then I suggest you get some of this Loctite. Just a small application around the bolt at the end. Once you screw it in, it just holds it in place, stops it coming out in case of vibration. Right, as you can see, in the offside swing arm, there's a small hole here, and that's where you're going to put your cotton reel into this hole. So don't forget, first of all, put some Loctite in and then screw it in. Okay, once you're done, insert your cotton reel into the bike. Just do it up, bearing in mind that the aluminium on the swing arm is softer than the bolt that you're putting in. So don't over tighten it, otherwise you might strip the aluminium thread on the inside. Hand tight is fine. And if you're a little bit OCD, you can even make sure that the R&G are up the right way. Once it's tight, give it another little turn, and that's enough to hold it in place. Don't over tighten it because you might strip the aluminium thread.
Okay, it's a similar thing on the other side. You can see there's a small hole just here on the swing arm, and that's where your cotton reel is going to screw into. Again, don't forget a bit of Loctite on the end, and also don't over tighten it, you don't want to strip the thread. Okay, once you've applied a small amount of Loctite to the end of the bolt, just enough to hold it in, it goes all the way around, that should be enough. Insert it into the hole and just do it up. And again, if you're that way inclined and a little bit OCD, get it to where it's tight, line up the R&G, and just add a little quarter turn, and that's nice and tight. It's not going to come out. The Loctite's doing its job. We haven't stripped the thread on the aluminium swing arm with the steel bolt. Once both sides of the paddock stand are on, pull the bike towards you, leave the side stand down in case you need to lay it back down again. I'm supporting the other side of the bike, it's not going anywhere. Now it's upright, it's securely on both the stands, and we can lift it up. So we're going to fit this engine cover onto the case here, and to do that we need to remove some of the fairing bolts so we can get to the bolt in here on the engine cover. What I suggest is when you remove the bolts, you put them in a tray or something similar and try and lay them out in the order and the pattern that you took them out, so you know where they go on the way back. Okay, now the bolts are out, the fairing's a bit loose. I can get in here now and undo this bolt that I need to get to in order to fit the engine case cover. Okay, just to make sure, we're going to loosely fit the cover over the top, just to make sure I know exactly which screws we need to take out. I don't know if you've ever seen the pictures in the R&G instructions, but as you can see, they're pretty useless. They're so dark you can't see which bolt's which. I think there are better instructions if you go to R&G's website. They list the instructions for every specific bike and part, and you can download it as PDF and do it from that. So that's a lot easier. However, if you put it over the top, you can see which bolts need to come out. There's the racing slider on the end, so that can be replaced if it goes down. So I thoroughly recommend buying those ones. So you need a T30 Torx bit. When you remove the bolts, just make sure you loosen them, crack one, go to the second one diagonally opposite, undo that, and then come down and do the one over here. Because of the aluminium, we just want to make sure that it's undone evenly with the correct pressure each time. Once they're all loose, then we can crack on and remove them. If you were taking the whole engine case cover and you do it diagonally on the face of the clock and go across to whichever bolt is opposite, undoing them all equally and try and get all of them loose at the same time. So I don't know if you can see that. The bolts come out as a tiny bit of thread lock on it, and the new bolt that we're going to put in, we're going to need to add a little bit of thread lock to the thread to make sure it doesn't come out. Okay, once you've got the alternator cover in place, bit of Loctite on the 45mm bolts that come with it, make sure they are lined up, slot them in, just do them like finger tight each one for now, and then once they're in we can tighten them up properly. Okay, once they're all done up and just hand tight, I'm going to set the torque wrench to 15 Newton meters and just make sure that's one done, that's two done, that's three done. What I do suggest is after you ride the bike for the first time, when you bring the bike back in again, make sure these are still tight. Just check them periodically, make sure they haven't come undone. Okay, once you've removed the BMW bolts, the R&G one's coming in a little bag. What I suggest you do is chuck the BMW bolts in the bag and keep them for later on, so you know what they're for. It also helps if you label the bag, you might remember. On the fairing bolts, as you see, when you take them out, they're absolutely dry when you put them in. A little tiny bit of copper grease, make sure if you have to keep taking them in and out, A, they don't rust, B, they can always come out nice and easy, and therefore we don't have to force them and strip the heads. So on the list while we're here is the water pump cover, which is just here underneath the fairing. I think we can actually just get that in without having to remove this fairing anymore. Right, as you can see, the water pump cover goes on here, just behind this piece of fairing, it's got 3 bolts. Believe it or not, when you take the bolts out of the bike, it doesn't just come away and all the coolant pour out. So you can actually carefully remove all 3 bolts. It stays in place. Put the cover over the top, 3 new bolts back in again and tighten them up. What I would say is, as even BMW have realised, you need to put more Loctite on and make sure they do not come out, because you do not want your coolant coming out all over the place. So once that's done, make sure each of the bolts is nicely done up, and you'll see it will pull the cover down over the top. So do it gradually, one by one, making sure that the cover goes home. Eventually when they get tight, you can stop. That's it, hand tight. That one's hand tight. Now that one's hand tight. And then we're going to go to the torque wrench. Okay, so once they're all tight, get the torque wrench, 15 Newton meters for an M6. Just make sure that one's done. They're nice and snug, and they're not going to come out. That's done. And that one's done. So there we go. So the last piece to fit is the clutch and pulse cover, which is going to fit over here. So again, on this side, we're going to have to remove some of the fairing bolts in order to get this piece of fairing out of the way, so we can slip the cover inside here. Okay, once the fairing is loose, we can get the cover, slot it into place. There we are. And then we know which screws we're going to have to remove. So 1, 2, 3 and 4. Okay, once you've got all the screws out, line up the case, make sure that the screws you've taken out are in the right places. Get your new bolts, add a bit of Loctite, put them in. Okay, once they're all hand tight, then we can go and get the torque wrench and just torque them up to the final settings. Just make sure they're all hand tight. Okay, once they're all tight, get your torque wrench and make sure that they're all 15 Newton meters.
Okay, so next on the list are the Aero crash bungs. The bolts for these go into the frame and into the engine. And on the off side, there's only 1 bolt. So it recommends in the instructions, if you read online, to actually put a jack underneath the bike with a bit of wood just to spread the load out. So I've done that just in case. I'm sure it won't, but just in case the engine does decide to slip slightly. There's 2 bolts on the near side and 1 on the off side. So just be careful if you are doing this. Make sure, just take precaution. You don't want the engine just to slip down. It's going to be a pain to try and line the holes back up again. So there we go, that's what we get in the kit. Got the RNG Aero crash sliders, the bolt and the little sleeve to go inside. Okay, so first of all we're going to fit the offside crash bung. You need the bolt with the gripper washer at the top, then the normal washer. The side with the cap goes on, the bolt goes through, inside, all the way down, and the sleeve with the wider part at the bottom goes against the crash bung, and then that is ready to fit.
So as you can see here, I've just shored up the bottom of the bike underneath the exhaust just to hold the engine in place, stop it slipping down when I take the engine bolt out. Okay, so hopefully as you can see, this is the bolt that we're going to be taking out, and it goes straight through the frame into the engine, so we do have to be careful. That's why we put the jack underneath. Okay, for this one you need a T50 bit, and we're just going to try and crack it. There we go, we're gone. There we are, out, nice and easy. And again, look at that, nothing on it whatsoever, completely dry. Okay, once again, we're going to apply some Loctite to ours, so we don't want it to come loose and flap around or even come off without us wanting it to. So once we've applied a little bit of Loctite, I'm going to offer it up to the hole, mount it in place. Once you've done that, you'll need a 17mm socket set to tighten it up. Okay, once that's nice and tight, make sure it's torqued to the correct setting, and you're all done. All you've got to do now is put on the end cap. There we are. On the near side, this is the bolt we have to take out and goes through the frame and into the engine, and we'll replace it with a crash bung. There we go, we're gone. are, again, nothing on it. As you can see, there's another bolt just here which is also going through into the engine, holding it up through the frame. So actually this side's not so bad. I'm going to apply a little bit of Loctite to the bolt, make sure it doesn't come loose with any vibrations, and then we're going to feed the bolt in. There we are. Just give it a little turn, hold it in place. Once that's on, we're going to tighten it up. Okay, just as it starts to get tight, make sure you hold it in place. Again, the larger end towards the front and the smaller end towards the back. Try and line it up so it's nice and straight. Get these two little holes in line. There we go. Now we're going to try and hold it while we do it up. So, and then we get the torque wrench on it. And once we're nearly there, hold that in place, turn it. You should get the click. Yeah, just check it. Yeah, it's good. Okay, that just leaves the last little bit, which is the little cap to go in on the front. Done. These are just little stickers. If they ever tarnish or anything, R&G kindly give you another 4 in a packet, just in case something happens to them, maybe when you're cleaning and etc. So you can stick them back on again.
I hope that was useful for you. Any questions, just stick them in the comments, give me an email. Head over to highspeedtouring.com, send me an email, get in touch, any way you like. Hope to see you on one of the next rides. Just so you know, I'd normally do that on my ABBA stand, and I'd lift the bike up so it'd be a lot easier so I wouldn't have to sit on the floor. Unfortunately, if I did that, you wouldn't be able to see half of the stuff that I was doing. So I've had to crawl around on the floor today, but I can't thoroughly recommend the ABBA stand Skylift enough. You can lift the bike right off the floor, keep it level, get to all the bits, and a lot more comfort. Well, I hope you enjoyed the video. Hit the like and subscribe buttons below, and I hope to see you soon. Cheers, bye.